Sem mais demoras, chamo ao palco Ana Pinho, a Presidente do Conselho de Administração e da Comissão Executiva da Fundação de Serralves, Rui Moreira, Presidente da Câmara do Porto, Graça Fonseca, Ministra da Cultura de Portugal. E passo já a palavra à Senhora Presidente da Comissão Executiva da Fundação de Serralves, Ana Pinho.
Senhora Ministra da Cultura do Governo de Portugal, Senhor Presidente da Câmara Municipal do Porto, Senhora Comissária Europeia para a Inovação, Investigação, Cultura, Educação e Juventude, Senhor Secretário de Estado da Segurança Social, Senhora Diretora-Geral do GEPAC, Senhores Conferencistas, Senhores e Senhoras Conferencistas, Senhoras e Senhores. Começo por felicitar a Presidência Portuguesa do Conselho da União Europeia e o Ministério da Cultura por promoverem a organização desta conferência com uma temática tão atual e de enorme relevância. A cultura esteve sempre intimamente associada ao que mais intrínseco define os povos, os continentes, as nações, as comunidades. A identidade cultural torna singular cada povo e respectivo território. Em simultâneo, o resultado da interligação entre diferentes culturas assume uma enorme importância na convivência em comunidade e nas relações entre os povos. A cultura tem um significado per se, que deve ser enfatizado ao nível da definição das políticas europeias, nacionais, regionais e locais. Por outro lado, interrelaciona-se com realidades tão diversas como a educação, a saúde, a economia, o urbanismo ou a coesão social e territorial. Neste sentido, julgo que a escolha do local para a realização desta conferência não podia ter sido mais acertada. Na verdade, a missão de Serralves é multifacetada, envolvendo arte contemporânea, a arquitetura, o cinema, a paisagem, a sensibilização e educação para a preservação do ambiente e para a sustentabilidade e a reflexão sobre os temas críticos à nossa sociedade e ao seu futuro. A nossa programação é multidisciplinar, como aliás se viu no vídeo que acabou de passar. Serralves, isoladamente ou em múltiplas parcerias com escolas, municípios e outras instituições de natureza muito diversa, desenvolve uma extensa programação na área das artes, das ciências e do ambiente, dirigida a todos os públicos, mobilizando-os e envolvendo-os, contribuindo para a formação de cidadãos mais conhecedores e intervenientes. Serralves desenvolve muitos projetos de inovação social, cada vez mais estruturados, abrangendo comunidades favorecidas e públicos com necessidades especiais, que têm tido resultados muito positivos na inclusão e educação pelas artes e ciência, nomeadamente os programas dirigidos ao combate ao abandono escolar, aos cidadãos com deficiência ou incapacidade, aos reclusos, aos jovens e idosos em instituições de acolhimento. Salientar também o extenso programa que Serralves organiza anualmente todo o território português, promovendo processos de descentralização e de valorização e coesão territorial. Estas iniciativas, em parceria com mais de 30 municípios, cerca de 35, aliás, 35, neste momento, 30 municípios portugueses, permitem o alargamento do acesso das populações locais à arte contemporânea e à sensibilização para a sustentabilidade ambiental, através da realização nesses municípios exposições da coleção de Serralves, assim como de programas educativos associados. Por outro lado, Serralves promove também anualmente a oferta cultural e ambiental desses municípios aos grandes eventos que organiza aqui em Serralves, trazendo essas propostas e mostrando centenas de milhares de pessoas. Na verdade, em 2019, Serralves foi visitada por 1 milhão e 100 pessoas, aos quais se juntaram mais de 500 mil pessoas nas iniciativas por todo o país
people in initiatives throughout the country and outside of Portugal. It is therefore very important for this interaction to allow the municipalities to present their own activities here and for Serralves to work also outdoors in the country and abroad. Also regarding gender equality, in recent years there has been deliberate activity to increase the presence of female artists in exhibitions as well as in the works we acquire for our collection. An example of that are the major illustrations that you can see nowadays in Serralves, Luís Bourgeois, Aline Malani, and Rebecca Coitman, and many other that just last year we organized, like Paula Rego and Lutz Castro, and many other. That is also enlarged and open to other areas in which we work. I would end by restating our commitment to deepen the responses to challenges that contemporary society faces, promoting the topic connection in line with the spirit of the new Bauhaus, an initiative with which we are very much identified and in which we are integrated, with which we fully identify, and I would like to greet for their purpose of promoting new forms of life with the connection between art, culture, social cohesion, science and technology, aiming towards a more sustainable future. For all that, I would like to thank Madam Minister and Ministry of Culture, as well as the Portuguese Presidency of the EU, for holding this interesting and very needed thinking of Serralves. And at Serralves. I thank all participants and all those who will be joining us throughout these 2 days. Allow me to end by mentioning an artist who left us yesterday and was always closely connected to Serralves for many years, as well as to the mission we develop, an artist who personifies what we try to do. We placed there in the only place available at the request of the Minister of Culture, which we immediately accepted. It was the least we could do. There's no room anywhere else, but at the bottom of the staircase we were also able to place 2 works of Julian Sarmento, one of which belongs to the Secretariat of the Ministry of Culture and the other one owned by Serralves. I would like to pay tribute to Julian Sarmento and express our sadness for his loss. He's left, but his giant works will remain with us, so an applause for him, please. Thank you so much, Madam Chairman, for your presentation and for your words about Julian Sarmento on behalf of this whole room, and we thank him as well, and thank you for the thoughtful way in which you received us here at Serralves, this place which is a clear evidence of how artistic work can have an enormous social impact. I should say that we needed to wear a mask. I'm not wearing one, but I have noticed that everyone is wearing a mask, so I will not need to ask you to do so. Still, I would like to highlight that some of the participants will be with us through video conference, namely the Secretary of State for Social Security, Gabriel Bartsch, who will now have the floor. Mr. Secretary of State, please. Thank you so much. Good morning to you all. Madam European Commissioner Maria Gabriel, Madam Minister of Culture Graça Fonseca, Mayor of Porto Rui Moreira, the Chairwoman of the Board of Directors of the Serralves Foundation, Ana Pinho, the speakers and moderators and participants. I would like to start by thanking for the honor to participate in this opening session and admit that I'm sorry I cannot be with you in presence, face to face at this magnificent location, imagining that many other people share this feeling with me. Unfortunately, because I am closer, I will be able to, in the short term, visit once again the Foundation. The topic of this conference is of the utmost central nature and the current topic nowadays. And from the perspective of those who deal with social cohesion, it raises a stronger interest, sharpened by the quality of the speakers and the importance of the topics that this conference aims to approach in the several sessions. The production and cultural production and enjoyment are unique and fundamental for human condition. That's why stating that cultural activity and its sharing promote social cohesion, and this is intuitive and self-explaining. There are no doubts also that simultaneously these often mirror or demonstrate the several interactions of community life. Today, after the long and hard months we faced, it is a consensus that the cultural sector has performed a role of extreme relevance in direction to adversity, helping us maintain a more resilient state of mind throughout the lockdown period, through which we often resorted to several forms of cultural expression and entertainment with exponential increase of digital services, namely through streaming. However, the sector was severely damaged by these measures we had to adopt to save people and lives. The never-seen scenario we faced and lived in allowed us to extend the coverage and social protection to the workers of the sector, forcing us to conceive, to design and operationalize mechanisms of support to help us relieve the impact of the crisis. However, it so happens that there was an obvious need to see the problem in a more structural manner so as to build up stable and long-lasting solutions. It is important to say that Portugal has been in the forefront of the social protection policies to guarantee universal and adequate access to social protection levels for all people in society, in line with celebration of the ILO anniversary with the 2030 agenda of the UN, with the pillar of social rights and its action plan. This action plan will translate the 20 principles of the pillar into specific measures regarding labor rights, minimum wage, minimum income, the development of skills and competences, the fight against poverty and inequality in all its ways. The EU needs a strong social pillar to face the challenges of climate change and digital transition in order to guarantee equal opportunities for all and for no one to be left behind. That's why Portugal strongly greets the action plan of the social rights pillar and supports the ambition to have specific goals in terms of employment, skills and poverty and social exclusion reduction. The Portuguese presidency is committed to bringing these topics forward within the context of our priorities and of our motto, time to act, time to fulfill goals for decent jobs and quality jobs, time to produce results in terms of skills and competences that will be true engines for an inclusive and sustainable recovery, time to produce results for the development of social policies to fight against poverty and social exclusion, promoting societies with greater social justice. Celebrating the European Charter of the Council of Europe, we hope that the conclusions of this conference will nourish the journey towards the Social Summit of Porto, to which Portugal attributes great relevance as one of the determining elements of their presidency. We are convinced that the summit and the preceding elements and moments like this will surely provide room and opportunities for a lively discussion amongst high-level representatives of the several member states, which, regardless of the differences in their economic and social policies, remain united in their purpose to make real the rights for all, particularly for those who are in greater need for protection. Thank you. Queres continuar?
Thank you very much, Secretary of State. We must underline this effort to coordinate social and cultural policies. We will now listen to the recorded intervention, the recorded presentation of the Commissioner for Culture, Cohesion and Social Impact, Maria Gabriel.
Dear Minister Fonseca, dear Minister Mendes Godinho, ladies and gentlemen, even if I cannot be physically with you today, I'm delighted to participate via video message. And I want to start by thanking the Portuguese presidency for this possibility. Culture is an important force in our lives, bringing us together, like today. Nowhere was this more evident than during the last year. As the pandemic forced us into confinement, we consistently turned to culture for solace in difficult times, which made it even more tragic when the cultural sector was hit so hard by the crisis. Last year, the cultural and creative sectors lost 31% of their revenues. The performing arts and music were particularly hard hit, losing 90% and 76% of their respective turnover compared to 2019. Yet this is an opportunity to invest and channel recovery funds to our cultural and creative sectors. We now have strong instruments at our disposal. There is, of course, Creative Europe, our flagship program for culture, promoting social inclusion, pluralism, intercultural dialogue and freedom of expression. The new program will have a 60% increase in funding, a total of 2.4 billion euros. Then we have many other European funds, from the Recovery and Resilience Facility to the European Structural and Investment Funds, not forgetting Digital Europe or Horizon Europe, with for the first time a dedicated cluster on culture and creativity, or the Knowledge and Innovation Community of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. With these instruments, we'll support social cohesion, promoting well-being and mental health, shifting mentalities to more sustainable models, and promoting gender equality. Mental health and well-being, especially for our youth, is indeed one of the most pressing issues in the wake of the pandemic. Cultural content played a vital role when we feel disconnected or isolated. It helped us improve our mood, reduce anxiety, and find meaning. We recently launched a €500,000 call for proposals to fund 5 pilot projects with a focus on culture for mental health. This way, we'll be able to come out of this trial with strengthened resilience. I encourage you to have a look and apply. Social cohesion is also about how we relate to the environment around us. Therefore, it is important to associate culture to sustainability. On our site, we launched 2 working groups under the open method of coordination. One to discuss how to integrate cultural policy into national sustainable development strategies and how to harness culture's contribution to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. The other will focus on cultural heritage and the threat of climate change, building resilience and protecting heritage sites from natural disasters. Moreover, we also convened a dialogue under the Voices of Culture initiative that brought together more stakeholders than ever before. The result was a report with 89 case studies and 10 recommendations. Another important political initiative that will combine sustainability and the territorial dimension of culture is our new European Bauhaus. For the European Green Deal to work, we need culture at its core. With the new European Bauhaus, we are taking Europe's goal of sustainability, making it practical, beautiful, stylish, and available to everyone. As you know, we launched the design phase in January, open until summer. 2 weeks ago, we added another element by announcing the new European Bauhaus prizes to showcase good practices, examples, and concepts that clearly illustrate sustainability, aesthetics, and inclusion. I invite all of you to have a look and participate. Finally, social cohesion cannot take place without gender equality. We want culture to promote a more inclusive society, a society that listens to diverse voices. Yet, that cannot happen if the culture sector itself does not abide by these principles. Men are still more prevalent in decision-making roles in Europe's cultural organizations and in our major cultural institutions. In 2018, a French study found that while 52% of performing arts students are women, they only make up 18% of managerial positions in the sector. In 2019, we established an expert group dealing with this topic. Their report will be presented here tomorrow, and I thank all the experts involved in this report. It set out steps towards women participation in the creative process on equal footing. It also addresses the most persistent gender gaps and stereotypes. Over the years, the Creative Europe program has supported many projects directly addressing gender equality in culture. 5 just last year, including the Live DMA Network's Diversity Roadmap for live music venues, clubs and festivals, and Project Women Arts, promoting women's visibility, promotion and access to the art markets. Our new Creative Europe program reflects an even stronger commitment to gender equality with specific indicators to monitor systematically progress. This focus will also act in tandem with our other programs, especially Erasmus+ and Horizon Europe. For example, as regards sports, I recently launched a high-level expert group on gender equality in sport. Sport is indeed part of our cultural heritage and can help in achieving greater gender equality in our society. Dear friends, thank you once again to the Portuguese presidency for organizing this conference and all of you for participating. I wish you a very fruitful 2 days of discussion. Thank you.
We now have the witness of the Commissioner Maria Gabriel that has also underlined the relevance of this issue in this agenda after the pandemic in Europe. So I now give the floor to the Mayor of Porto, Dr. Rui Moreira. Good morning to you all. First of all, I would like to greet the Minister of Culture, the European Commissioner for Innovation, Maria Gabriel, and also the Secretary of State here with us, and all the participants in this session. I would like to say that culture has been for us in the last 8 years in the city of Porto the baseline of our policies, and it is articulated as part of a triangle that, along with social cohesion and economic development, we believe that it assures the sustainability of the city. Culture is today the essential factor in what we can call the basis, the concrete of European societies. It is through culture that we better understand diversity, and when we better understand diversity, we decrease the differences. It allows for the dialogue between generations, and it allows societies like our societies to better understand these very difficult and hard times that we are experiencing. Without culture, without an understanding of what is happening, it will be much harder to understand the apnea we are living in. But this is also a time that has particularly very, very hard for this sector. The sector of culture, in spite of the huge effort implementing new technological ways to communicate, would not have been possible if these pandemics had occurred 20-25 years ago. But in fact, cultural agents have lost their they've had experienced a huge suffering. But this is when we have to further invest in culture. We have to remind people that culture has this specificity. Culture that joins social policies, that creates opportunities for the youngsters, for people with disabilities, for the more secluded and isolated populations. A culture that will make us all not just bystanders, but also actors in social development, that we will want to have fruits. And for me, it is a pleasure to participate in this conference that is so timely here in the House, and as it also has been mentioned here today, I would like to mention once again Julian Cimento. He had the pleasure and the honor to be his friend for many years, and he's a reference in Portuguese culture, and we remind him here today. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you very much for your words, Mr. Mayor of Porto. And I give the floor now to the Minister of Culture, Graça Fonseca. Good morning to you all. European Commissioner for Innovation, Research and Culture, Mr. Mayor of Porto, Mr. Secretary of State, thank you for your presentation. Mr. Chairman of the Board of Serralves Foundation, thank you very much for welcoming us here today in Serralves. We are always delighted to return to Serralves. And I would also like to thank having responded to the opportunity to pay our tribute to João Sarmento, because yesterday was a very sad day for us. We've lost one of our references in culture in Portugal, and he has also in fact helped to shape and change Portugal in the last decades. The language that we use is essential for any culture, and for this I would like to start this presentation mentioning that today, May the 5th, we celebrate the National Day of Portuguese Language, an initiative of the Community of Portuguese-speaking countries in 2009 that UNESCO has implemented in 2019 with this dimension. A conference that focused the role of culture as a driving force for territorial cohesion. I would like to stress that through the many singularities of Portuguese language, our authors have expressed the heterogeneity of our territory, their uses and their heritage. We have Portuguese-speaking authors, and when we read them, it's one way to travel through Portugal, through our territory and throughout our cultural heritage, the material and immaterial heritage. This conference, within the framework of the Portuguese presidency of the European Union, dedicated to culture, cohesion and social impact, tries in this way to discuss the evidence and the relationship of culture with other areas such as health, education, science, technology and higher education and environment, and the added values generated through this integrated value through the cohesion in our territory and our country. The territory is in fact the context from which it is built, the public initiative of culture, territory and the agents, geographical locations, social and economic connections, and the territory has the creators and artistic structures that are now building new pages in the history of our culture. It is in the territory that we preserve, that we maintain, and that there is this widespread of the cultural heritage. And so the government and the Ministry of Culture, through us or through an integrated policy in the different areas of the government, has promoted the development of a culture of social accountability and a very wide impact in the territory. And so the capacity of culture to imagine new, specific and new ways to solve problems, because culture also has the role to make our country more responsible, more resilient, with greater cohesion, promoting the essential role that heritage has and art have in local level and in a global perspective of territorial cohesion. This perspective, this this vision is even more important in the context of pandemics, as it will be so in the future, that we have to start prepared now. And with this goal, and also in the conference that was promoted by our presidency, and the last April 28th, we have presented the Charter Porto Santo. That is an initiative of the Ministry of Culture through the National Plan for the Arts. That is a roadmap to guide recommendations and principles to help the paradigm of culture in Europe. Territorial cohesion as a paradigm of cultural democracy is one of the bases for the very profound reform we have put forward in last April 22nd, and also for the Recovery and Resilience Facility that has its own component of 243 million euros for the next 5 years. Within the framework of the measures that have been approved by the Council of Ministers that have a significant impact in territorial cohesion, please let me mention the approval of the network of theatres, the creation of a Portuguese network of contemporary art, 1% of arts in public works, as well as the law that states the 46 museums and national entities that will be requalified as part for the recovery plan and recovery and resilience facility. There's also an ongoing plan to further increase measures to reconstruct Europe, a more resilient, greener plan. Territorial cohesion, as I've mentioned, is one of the bases for the cultural recovery and resilience facility through the digital transition cultural networks, as well as the increase in value and the safeguard of cultural heritage, of material and immaterial heritage, preserving in this way one of our main assets that are quite differentiating from the threats that have been the result of climatic changes. I would like to change my presentation once again mentioning our great artist Julian Sarmiento that has died yesterday. He is probably our greatest international reference that has a pioneer and very innovative path in Portugal. He has been widely represented in the contemporary art of our state. Some of his work is presented here in Serralves, and we can see two of his work here in the lobby. Julian Sarmiento has given an international dimension to our art, to our culture, and also our country. There is not a better tribute we can render to our great artists than to make their work visible, to make their world known as a result of the very rich collections. And also a final word to thank those who are not here on stage at JPAC, our office that has coordinated all the initiatives of the Portuguese presidency. We have here the director and his team, and also all those that work in their offices and the different departments have done an outstanding work throughout a very difficult year to maintain the initiatives of the Portuguese presidency. To all those who are not here on the stage but also have an essential contribution so that we can all be here today. Thank you very much.